Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is Lindsay, and this is Life with Lindsay. Today, we have a WIP Chat. If you do not know what a WIP Chat is, WIP is WIP, which stands for Work in Progress. I work on my WIP. You work on whatever it is that you are working on. So if you want to follow along and work on one of your crafting projects or have it in the background while you're driving to work or doing laundry or pretty much however you want to WIP and chat, there's no wrong way to WIP and chat. Before we get into it, a few boring housekeeping tips. If you hear a noise directly to my left, I do have my fan running. I'm recording this while the tiny human is sleeping, so hopefully she doesn't wake up while we're doing this. You never know. Today is a super gloomy day, so it's really, you're going to get a lot of shadows, like you can, anytime I move my hand. That was my attempt at a shadow bunny. Don't mind me. So, I am currently working on my Heaven and Earth design. This is a cross-stitch pattern on a blank canvas. I have gotten 34.76% done. By the time we're sitting down to record. I do have my cross-stitch pattern over here. Yep, I know, you need to be on battery. I totally forgot to charge it, so it's being plugged in with my portable charger. You know how it goes, or maybe you don't. Anyway, how are you guys doing? If you see me pointing and stopping and, you know, taking seemingly a little bit extra time, it's simply because I am counting to make sure that I have everything where I need it to be, because as you can see, they're just grid lines. There are no symbols on the canvas. So, let's get into it, shall we? So I think I'm going to finish with this color here, and then we'll move on to, let's grab another color while I'm here. My desk is a mess, as always. As always. So I'm trying to, the organization bug never hit me. I know some people are very organized. They love being organized. Nope, not me. That's not me. That's not me. It's just not me. If you guys hear a beeping sound, that is simply me using my timer. So, let me get in. This pen is from Lazy River. Tray is Bella Art Day Nicole. So, the day that I am recording this, which is definitely not the day you guys will see it, I was going to record this last night, but I fell asleep and I simply just was worn out. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my day yesterday, and we'll go from there. We'll see where the ramblin' and the bamblin' takes us. So yesterday was Tuesday, so I was scheduled to go get my COVID shot. Now, I'm going to just preface this with a few things. First thing, if this is something that you don't agree with, or you have negative thoughts about this, please keep them to yourselves, because it's not going to change my opinion. And I'm doing what's best for my family and myself, and I'm not here to tell you how you should be living your life, so please don't come at me and try to tell me how to live mine. The next thing I'm going to preface it with saying is, I am absolutely phobic about needles. If you guys hear it in my voice at any point here, like actual legit phobia, not like, oh, I'm a little bit scared, like full on panic attacks, having trouble breathing, tears streaming down my face, hyperventilating, can't catch my breath, like that sort of level of phobia. So for me, I knew going into this, it was going to be very difficult for me. So my mother-in-law lives down the street from where they are doing the vaccines. I was lucky enough to get an appointment at one of those mass clinic sites. It is a former big box store that has just been sitting there. You know, like they turn it into like a Halloween adventure, and then it just sits there because nobody else wants it. I don't know. I don't work in real estate, so I can't tell you the actual reasons why it's been sitting there for so long. But anyway, not the point. Not the point at all. So I made my appointment, and I was all excited, and I called my mother-in-law, and I said, hey, question, I have an appointment scheduled on Tuesday. Do you think you can come and sit in the car with the baby? My husband asked, and they told him he could come in with me because he had gotten his first one in the same location. And they said he could absolutely come in with me. So I thought, okay, this will be great. I'll have my mother-in-law sit in the car, and then we'll go and have a picnic lunch at the park. It'll be a great day. And she said, yeah, let me look at my calendar. And then she goes, oh, I have an appointment. Her appointment was exactly at the same time mine was. So I was like, crap, I don't know what to do now. So my family, who live hour and a half, 2 hours away, depending on traffic and depending on who's driving. My dad and I were talking, and he very lovingly offered to come up. My father both of my parents have gotten their first and their second dose. My dad is of the age bracket that they called him, and they're like, hey, you're over 75. You want your shot? And he's like, all right, sure. Tell me when. I'm like, come in tomorrow. And for anyone who's curious, that's how easy it was for him. You know how easy it was for us? Not at all. That's not the point. Anyway, so, actually, let me take a quick water break here real quick. So, for other reasons, my mom isn't comfortable traveling right now, even though it would just be in the car. So my dad actually hired, let me do 80 by, just making sure I'm in the right spot. My dad actually hired a driver to drive him up, and then he was going to take the place of my mother-in-law, and after my shot, we were going to go to the park and have a picnic in the pavilion and just spend the day together. It was beautiful weather, thank goodness, because today is not. It's crazy. Yesterday was in the 60s and sunny and beautiful, and today is like 50 degrees and raining and dark and gloomy. And look at that. I already finished that color. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I already worked on this color the last time I sat down. But anyway, so my dad came up, and I was like, what are you going to do with the driver while you're here? And he's like, I don't know, he'll just follow us around, or he'll sit in his car, or, you know. He's basically being paid to do this. So it's not like this guy's being inconvenienced. My dad was a paying customer, and that's how he was utilizing his time. So we get to the clinic site, and I get out of the car, and immediately my heart starts racing, and I said to my husband, I need a minute. Which, okay. If you guys have never had to deal with panic attacks, I'm really sorry. Okay, this is real life, okay? So, if anyone tries to tell me that I'm overreacting or whatever it is, and you clearly don't know what it's like to be in this position, so I'm going to pause the video here real quick and just gather myself. Okay, so what you just witnessed there is what happens anytime I have to drive over a bridge or get a shot. I mean, if we're talking like deep psychological reasons as to why this happens to me, I'm going to say it's probably because I was told my whole life when I was younger, needles don't hurt, you're overreacting, and constantly putting that in my head when I'm telling people this really hurts and I'm really scared. But that's not why we're here. So anyway, got out of the car, had that moment of like freak out where I was like, I just need a minute, let me catch my breath. So I did. My husband, this is obviously not the first time that he's witnessed this happen to me. He's very good in those moments with me because he knows that if you just tell me it's not that big of a deal, that it's probably just going to make it worse. Because in my brain, I can't wrap my mind around that, because to me, this is like almost like fight or flight. Like, oh my God, something's happening, something's not good. Anyway, so I had my moment and I said, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's go. We walk up to the door and there's signs everywhere that say close. I'm like, well, that's weird. I said, maybe I happen to be the first appointment of the day. Coincidentally, when I booked it, it was the earliest appointment they had. It wasn't very early, but it was the earliest one they had. So, you know, I had no reason to think it couldn't be a possible answer. So we go, and I'm looking in, he's looking in. I see a few people, but they look like they are, you know, volunteers, not other patients. And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. And so I pull up my phone. And mind you, I've been freaking out because for however many days... Did I just screw something up? This is very possible. The amount of time I spend putting drills on the canvas and taking drills off the canvas. Cool, thanks. No, I just... My pen didn't want to... Alright, let's try that again. Get out of here, imposter. I was freaking out because I never got an email saying... Wait a minute. Okay, I did screw up somewhere. Let's count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. Where did I screw up then? This is what it's like every single day working on this, in case anyone's curious. So I'm going to just work my way down and see if I can figure out where I screwed up. Anyway, so I pull out my phone and I have the screenshot of me making my appointment. And I go, look, right here, it says 10:50 on Tuesday. And then my heart sinks. It was Tuesday, March 30th, not Tuesday, March 23rd, which is when I showed up. And I was like, oh my God, my dad got a driver. He, you know, took all this time out of his schedule. My dad and mom have been home since all of this is going on. I felt so many emotions in that moment. I felt my heart sink. I felt embarrassment. I felt shame. I felt relieved that I didn't have to get it, but then also petrified that I was going to have to come back and work myself up again. And my dad took one look at me and said, it's okay. Let's just keep enjoying our day. So we did. And we went over to the park, and it was, as I said, a beautiful, beautiful day. It got a little bit chilly in the pavilion. So my parents don't get to see my daughter super often because, like I said, they live an hour and a half away. By the way, I'm not sure where I screwed up because that's exactly what it's supposed to look like. So I'm not sure what happened. But anyway, oh, look, there's like one random one over here. 100. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I love when there's like one random drill. You guys couldn't even see it. It was totally off frame. But, so it worked out. We ended up having a really lovely time. Like I said, I felt completely stupid. And I know that I'm going to have to figure something out for next week. But in that moment, I was just like, what did I do? How did I screw that up? And, you know, every emotion ran through my head. So, thankfully, my dad, without even skipping a beat, said, well, I'll come back next week if you need me to. And I said, well, let me see if my mother-in-law can do it next week. Because what are the odds she has an appointment 2 weeks in a row? All of the grandparents are now fully vaccinated. So I don't have to worry as much about that. But let me tell you. I was so so upset with myself and just upset with how, like, I don't know. I just was like, how could you be this dumb? And then everybody's like, it's okay. It's just a mistake. But anyway, so we go over to the park, which the last time we tried to go to the park, they were closed because they apparently were doing some sort of renovations, and they were... What are you? I missed a drill. And they were like, oh, reopening first day of spring. So we were like, wait a minute, did spring start? I just put in a drill totally sideways. I don't know if you guys saw that. I don't know how many of you actually watch when you look at WIP Chats, or do you just casually look up, or like how do you WIP Chat? Let me know. Anyway, so we were at the park, we pulled up, they were open, so that was great. So normally we did this a couple times over the summer with my mother-in-law. We would go, and then there's a Little Caesars not far, but my husband has recently totally done an overhaul on how he's eating and what he's eating, and pizza is one of those things that he should be cutting back on, and it's also one of those things that he absolutely loves. So it's easier said than done, and he didn't want to. We don't want to make him tempt himself with foods like that. So anyway, that's not the point. So we ended up ordering from a little like cafe place. I had never been there, but I've heard it's really good. It was just pretty basic stuff. I got a sandwich, he got a salad, the kiddo got a burger, my dad got a little pizza, which okay, so it's really funny. So he's eating this pizza, and I go, hey Dad, how's the pizza? And he's like, yeah, you know. I'm like, okay. So he kept saying, oh, if you guys, you know, would like a slice, go ahead and have one. And we both say, oh no, thank you so much, Dad, we appreciate it, but that, you know, we're good, we have our own lunches. So next thing I know, our kiddo is not seeming into the burger that she so desperately wanted, which isn't that the way it is with like kids? I can't say just toddlers, because I'm pretty sure all kids are like this, where they specifically ask you for something and then they get it and they're like, I don't want this. Well, then why did you ask for it, child? Or am I alone in that? Anyway, so my husband goes, oh, well, Briar, do you want a piece of Zeta's pizza? And I can just see my dad looking at us, and I'm like, I don't think there's anything left. So my dad's like, oh, I'm sorry, I ate the pizza. And I was like a 9-inch personal pizza. It wasn't like my dad ate this big old pizza. And if he did, he did. You know, he's entitled to it. He's a grown man, and he can do what he wants. But she got so excited for a second, and then we were like, let's move along real quick so she doesn't get upset. But we had lunch under the pavilion. I went on a walk with Briar to get some big sticks. Anyone else's kid collector of big sticks? At one point, she had like 6 sticks in her hand, and I was like, what are you doing? Now, the other day, let me tell you guys, if you live in a climate that's like warm weather most of the time, then you're probably not like, you're like, oh, okay. For us, when we get a day that's like in the 50s, in the 60s, we're like, oh my God, warm weather is upon us, and we can get back to our life of being outside and playing outside and just having a good time. So the other day we went for a walk. We live in a neighborhood, and then there's a development directly across the street from us. So she likes to do both of those loops, and I'll come back to the story with my dad, but there's a reason I'm telling you this. And so there's this little boy, and he's on a scooter, and there's my daughter wielding this stick, and not even an exaggeration, it had to be 3-4 feet long. It was probably closer to 4 feet, because it was taller than her. And she's like, not trying to wield it around, but, you know, she's kind of wielding it around. I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing, kid? So this little boy comes with his scooter, and I'm like, Briar, listen to me right now. You need to give mommy the stick and let the little boy pass. You know, you can't you can't have the stick out, because even if she's not trying to, if she's holding it out in front of her and she moves an inch, she's going to whack this kid. So you can see the hesitancy. He's a couple years older than her, and he's like, I don't want to get hit with that stick. So he like walks into somebody else's yard to let us walk past, and she's like, give me the stick. I want the stick. And I'm like, Briar, just wait. Of course I give her the stick, and the first thing she does is start wielding. He's already passed by that point. I was like, oh my God, kid, you are going to be the end of me, friend. So anyway, when we were at the playground, or the park, grab another color, I didn't want her, wielding sticks around. And we picked an area that was pretty secluded. There really was nobody else there. Quick water break. I don't know why my mouth seems so dry. But she, there's a walking path, and I just found this out. My husband told me this. I did not know it, but the park is owned by the VA. So, you'll see a lot of, like, nurses, I guess, on their lunch break or whatever it is, just walking the walking trails, which they're totally paved, so you can ride them on a bicycle. You can do whatever you want on them. But in the actual, like, pavilion and grass where we were, there was nobody else. So she kept taking these sticks over to, like, the walking trail. And I was like, oh my gosh, can you just put the stick down? Like, just put the stick down. My daughter does not have what you would call good listening skills. So, that's always fun too. And you're like, oh my God, just listen to me for once. For once in your life. And I know what you're thinking. Isn't she like 3? Yes. The moment you put down a drill and realize it has a knobbly bit and you've already placed it down. So anyway, we brought with us our latest KiwiCo box, which, if that has gone up by the time this WIP Chat has, which I don't think it will, I will link that in the eye. Otherwise, I do have an entire playlist if that is of any interest to you. We brought our latest box with us, and these boxes, I will say one thing I do love about them is when we go to visit the grandparents, whether it's at the park or, we don't go to my mother-in-law's house simply because she lives in an apartment building, and like, you don't know who has and who hasn't been socially distancing, and it's just safer for everyone because it's a senior housing community, so we don't want to risk anyone. So we just try to do the fun outdoor things. Or has she been to our house during this? I don't think she has. I think everything we've done with her has been outdoors. But anyway, that's not the point. So we've done these KiwiCo boxes with the grandparents because they're fully contained and they have everything that you need to utilize them in the box. That's one thing I will say that I love about the KiwiCo boxes is I don't have to worry. Like, if it says that you're going to be doing something with fabric, the fabric is provided. The stickers are provided. The scissors are provided. The glue sticks are provided. So whatever it is that you need is in that box. That is the one thing I will say I absolutely do love about the KiwiCo boxes. That being said, a lot of times we end up with boxes that maybe are a little lost on her, or she's not loving them, or they're too difficult for her, or whatever it may be. And I think you kind of risk that with any kind of subscription box, whether it's for your child, for yourself, for a gift, for anyone. Anyway, so the one we did with my dad, so if you guys hear me referring to him as Zeta, that's what my kiddo calls my dad. And Zeta is what a lot of Jewish families will call their grandfather, because it's derived from the Yiddish word for grandfather. My paternal grandfather was my Zeta. He has since passed. He would be, I think we figured it out the other day, 108, something like that. I might be wrong on the math there, but he passed away many, many years ago, and I digress. So my dad is Zeta, and so Zeta and B had fun with their KiwiCo box, and this box was a reptile box. Now, I don't know. Oh, I thought I just placed them in the wrong spot again. If you, I don't know if I've ever specified a gender for her box, and I'm glad that I didn't, because this is definitely one of those things I get on my soapbox for, so I'm not really going to get into it in this video. But toys don't need to be gendered. They don't. There's no point in it. If a little girl wants to play with trucks, I don't know why that's a problem. If a little boy wants to play with dolls, I don't know why that's a problem. So I'm glad that these are not, and I'm going to use major air quotes here, gender specific. I believe there is an option that you can click for girls or for boys, but I don't know that it actually sends you anything that's different than what you're already getting. So I will say that I do appreciate that from a consumer standpoint and a parent standpoint. But anyway, so the box that they had was reptiles. Now, I'm not going to spoil the entire video of the KiwiCo unboxing for those who are interested in it. And like I said, if it's there, it would have been linked in the eye. If not, it'll be coming soon. I think this will actually go up before the KiwiCo unboxing, because I have a couple things that need to go up, and that's not a time-sensitive one. So, I think we're good on that color. So, in it, there was a stuffed snake to build. Again, came with the fabric, came with the stuffing, came with the eyes, the stickers, all of that stuff. It also came with a, as my kiddo calls it, baby turtle. Do you guys have, like, that word that your kid, your friend's kid, somebody else's kid, they always say it wrong, but it's the cutest thing on the planet? Like, she can't say turtle or purple, so it's turtle and purple, and it's super cute. Not, anyway, that's not the point of any of this. So, she had her turtle, her snake, and her chameleon. That's what came in this box. And she was so excited. She wanted to, so she first built the snake with her Zeta. Now, when I tell you they built the snake, like, it's literally like, it looked like a tube sock. And it was, I'm going to just, for lack of a better term, just call it a snake skin, and you stuff it. Now, I didn't realize that there were openings on both ends. So my dad's over there with this, like, one of Briar's big sticks, just shoving the fabric in as far as it can humanly go, instead of me realizing that, like, oh, wait a minute. Guys, guess what? We could put it in from the top and the bottom and meet somewhere in the middle. Yep. So they did that, and then you put on the googly eyes, and you put on the snake scales, and then there's a little noisemaker. Not noisemaker. What are they called? You blow them out on, like, New Year's or parties, and they're rolled up like this, and then when you blow into them, they make noise and they flatten out. Is that considered a noisemaker? I don't know. Whatever they are. If I remember, I'll put a picture on the screen. If not, hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. Welcome to my life, you guys. If this is your first time here, welcome. Hi, I am the conductor of the Hot Mess Express. So, they did the snake, and they put that together, and then the turtle was this little, like, cardboard box that had felt pieces you put on to make it a turtle, and then little Velcro on the bottom of that so that your turtle could tuck into its shell. So, There was also a chameleon, which by the time we got to the chameleon, she was kind of over it. And last night, we let her go up to bed. She gets to take one, I call them soft toys, up to bed with her. So, like, a stuffed animal. And she's like, I wanted to take Baby Turtle. And I'm like, Baby Turtle is, like, literally a cardboard toy with felt on it. And I explained to her very explicitly, if you break this, like, Mommy can't fix this. So, of course, I go in there today, and Baby Turtle is disconnected the felt from the cardboard box, and she peeled off all of the scales. I'm like, and she's like, Mommy, you fix this? Of course, this is now the toy my daughter is, like, attached emotional attachment, or emotions. Oh my God, I can't. If you don't understand what I'm trying to say, I hope you do. She's just latched onto it. I'm like, I'll see what I can do. Of course, what did she take up with her for her nap today? That damn turtle. I'm like, what is with this cardboard turtle? Mind you, this kid has a stuffed turtle. But all she could talk about last night was building that turtle with her grandfather. She's like, Zeta and I made a turtle, baby turtle I made with Zeta. I love my baby turtle. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. So, we get back yesterday afternoon, and I was exhausted, and I was like, I'm one of those, everybody always tells you, like, oh, let your kids have a lot of fresh air, they'll wear them out. For some reason, that always, like, recharges my kid. Did she take a nap? Yes, but it took a long time, and my ass fell asleep first. So, I was sitting there just waiting for her to fall asleep. Now, mind you, I had mentioned it was freezing in that pavilion. Have you ever had one of those moments where it doesn't seem to matter what you do, you just can't shake being cold? Oh, this is not the right color. Sharp tweezers for the win. So I just had one of those moments where I was just, like, insanely cold. And so I decided to curl up into bed. And my child was in her room. At this point, she was just napping. But we were hoping that she would actually, like, I don't know, fall asleep. So I texted my husband and I said to him, I was like, I don't know what it is, but I'm just so cold and I can't warm back up. The last time I felt like that much of, like, struggle was postpartum. I don't know if anybody else had to deal with that, but I remember after having the baby, those first, I don't even know how many days it was. I would feel like I was, like, melting. I was so hot. And then the next minute I would be convulsing because I was so cold. Hormones, they're lots of fun. But anyway, next thing I know, my phone rings and it woke me up, and I look over and there's my husband, and I'm like, how long have you been here? He's like, 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, okay. So obviously I fell asleep. I didn't realize I had fallen asleep, and she had fallen asleep. But it was now getting to the time where it's like, if we let her sleep much later, no matter how long ago she had fallen asleep, she's going to be miserable and grumpy and all those fun things. And she was. No surprise. But all she could talk about last night was how much fun she had with Zeta and how much fun she had with this baby turtle. And it really warmed my heart. I don't know that my dad has ever had, like, just one-on-one time with my kiddo, because my parents are together, and I'm very blessed for that. But I don't think that we've ever just spent time with just my dad. Now, part of that is also because my parents live, 100 miles away, which doesn't help in terms of, like, let's just go down for a few hours, which is what we always do anyway. But my mom, like I said, wasn't able to make it, and I called her, and, like, Briar was just babbling in the background about how much fun she had with Zeta. So even though I royally screwed up and I had my dad come travel all the way to my house for nothing. It wasn't for nothing. It turned out to be a great day. And I know my dad appreciates being able to spend that time with his granddaughter. He has one other grandchild, or my parents have one other grandchild, and that grandchild lives across the country. And it's been a while, like with COVID, that they've seen my nephew. And he's a teenager now, and, you know, I know my parents would love more time with my kiddo, but I'm like, unless you're going to drive here, like, I'm not making that drive to drop her off at your house to go have, like, a date with my husband. Let's just say COVID restrictions were lifted and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not talking about in the midst of pandemic central. Oh, look, I missed another one of that one. But it turned out to just be this amazing day. And it's funny, I coordinated what I wore, because I'm extra, to get my vaccine. I'm wearing a t-shirt from Naked Mangoes, which is one of my favorite, like, t-shirt shops. She does adult and big kid and little kid sizes, so I can get something that matches me, my kiddo. I can get one for my mom, my sister. They don't do... My husband's super tall, and he needs the extra long shirts, which most... It's hard enough to find that stuff at, like, regular stores. Like, regular stores, I say. Total air quotes there. But, anyway, not the point. So, I wore... Grabbing another color... a shirt that said Badass Babes Club. I had just picked that up, and I was really, really excited because I wanted everyone to know when I was getting my vaccine that I was this, like, badass babe. And, you know, I was proud of it. And then I didn't get my vaccine because I showed up a week early. So now I'm like, well, what do I wear next week? So I will probably wear another tee from Naked Mangoes. I don't know which one, but oddly enough, when I got home and I crawled into bed because I was so cold, okay, that's right. Sorry, I have to zoom and move around. I also wore earrings that were called Blood Jersey from Shop Kindred Together. Anyway, so I crawled into bed and I put on these sweatpants that she has in her shop. And they're really more joggers. Like, it's meant to be like, hey, a lot of us are, you know, not wearing real pants these days. So here, at least be cute and comfortable. And so I crawled into my bed and I wore those. And I'm like, oh man, I hope that she does some more of these soon. And literally today I wake up and she's in a showcase and there's like 5 or 6 new styles or colors. And I'm like, damn it. So I may be picking up some more of those. Yeah. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of small shops. I've done quite a few small shop hauls here on my channel. If I remember, I will link that up in the eye. But if you guys are ever interested in... Did I just put those all in the wrong place? Shoot. I think I might have. Well, let me do these ones first. If you're interested in any type of small shops, whether it's for adults or children, you can always just shoot me a DM. All of my information is always listed down below. But maybe I was right. Sorry, I'm going back and forth, and I know you guys can't see that, but I'm literally like, there's cartoons that are like, look this way, look that way, look this way. Anyway, so yeah, if you guys are looking for like handmade stuff or vinyl tee shops or screen print stuff, let me know. If my kiddo doesn't rep for one of those shops, I probably shop at one of those shops. So, yeah. But anyway, that's how yesterday went. And then today we had our virtual speech therapy. For anyone who is new to the channel, hi, welcome. I hope that you are here forever. No, I hope that you guys stay for a long time. I really do appreciate all the new faces that have been popping in. But my kiddo is speech delayed and receives speech services through the intermediate unit, which is the preschool program for our school district. I know if you are not in the States, I don't know how this works, but if you're in the States, some of them, they have different names for them. She was in the birth to 3 program or early intervention, depending on where you live. And then when she turned 3, she aged out of that. And so we've been receiving virtual speech services since November, as well as virtual occupational therapy and special education. So my kiddo does not go to preschool because I wasn't planning on signing my kid up to go to preschool while we were in a pandemic. My kiddo also has an airway disorder, so it didn't seem worth it to me to put my child at potential risk for something that would affect her breathing when she has an airway disorder. Again, that's not an up for discussion kind of thing. That just, it is what it is. And I'm just explaining that for people who either are new or just didn't know. Or if you've been here a while and you missed that memo. So, anyways, we've been told in not so many terms, this is, wow, I apparently did not finish it with the 310. That because my kiddo is not in a school setting and all of her services would transition to in-home services as opposed to her therapist going to her daycare or preschool, that we would basically be, the last ones to get service in person, which, it is what it is. I can't do anything about that. So, her speech therapist, today was the last session we were going to have with her speech therapist for like 3 weeks because the school district goes on spring break, and they go on spring break on a Wednesday. She has speech therapy on Wednesdays. And then the next Wednesday they are off. And then the following Wednesday is the last day of spring break. So she literally is missing 3 appointments. I'm like, well, that sucks, but it is what it is. And, she's said that our kiddo's been making great strides, which obviously we appreciate that as her parents. And we got discussing in-person services and preschool and things like that. So, I'm going to grab another sip of water real quick. So, she has her own office in my town, very, very close to where we are, actually. And, so the way it works is she has a head teacher, which is, I don't know if it's officially considered special education, but she's basically like her regular teacher. But she's also the head teacher. She's the one that everyone else coordinates with. So if 2 of my therapists want to join services, they discuss it with her. Like if they're doing a project or, like the one woman couldn't, I'm not with her anymore, but the one woman couldn't comprehend that I don't celebrate Christmas. She wanted to do all these Christmas activities, and she's like, we can pair up. And I was like, can we not do Christmas activities when I've expressed to you that my child, I'm fine with her doing winter-based activities, but why are you teaching like Christmas things when I'm telling you that's something that my family doesn't celebrate? And then she's like, well, could you remind me? And I'm like, is this not your reminder? Anyway, that's That's a story that's already been told, and that woman is long gone. But anyway, her speech therapist does have an office, and she said that we could absolutely discuss bringing her in for in-person speech services. Part of my daughter's IEP, which is an individualized education plan, they set goals. So it might be that the goal is that, 50% of her spoken language is understood by strangers, or that she, like, one of her OT goals is that she's able to successfully dress and undress herself and brush her teeth, and also fine motor skills and coordination and things like that. They're all in there. If the child is not achieving whatever the goals are that are set, then they reevaluate and they work on adding more to the goals if they need to. They adjust the goals, whatever it may be. So one of her goals is social goals. You may be asking yourself, well, how do you measure a social goal in a pandemic? Fuck if I know. That's what I asked however many months ago now. And they're like, well, if we feel the need that she's not obtaining her social goals. And I was like, again, how are you measuring that? I'm totally out of frame. Just know I'm like working a little bit to the left here, if that's even of importance to anyone. But like, if we find that she's not able to obtain her social goals, we'll find somebody else who has similar social goals, and we can bring them together in the county building and they can socialize. And I'm like, again, how are you measuring that my kid is hitting these goals? Like, what do you measure? I don't know. I don't know how they're measuring it. Anyway, so I said to her speech therapist, I go, well, I would absolutely love if she could go in person with you, because that could help them work on her socialization skills. Because you have to remember, my kiddo's been home now for over a year. And for us, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, she hasn't socialized with anyone that isn't her family. So, 2, let me not lose count here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, I had to do that so I wouldn't lose those. So like at this point, I'm like, I don't care if the socialization is with a teacher. It's still somebody that's not her norm. Because my biggest fear is that my kid is never going to get in-person education until she goes to kindergarten. Now, it dawned on me today, she still technically has 2 more years of preschool and not just 1 like I was thinking. Because my kid's got a fall birthday. She'll turn 5 in November of the year that she starts kindergarten. So she'll be 5 turning 6 the year she starts kindergarten. And she'll be turning 4 this year. So, and I had the same thing. My birthday's a November birthday, so I definitely hit those same, little snags or whatever you want to call them. But, so we're going to discuss that. But she was like, just so you know, my office is really small. If you can't tell, which I've never been there, but we see her virtually. So, yes, it does look small. And she's like, so you guys can't come with her. Now, obviously, they're not like, just leave your kid. My kid will be in there. She'll just be without a parent, which is totally fine because she's only in there for, 45 minutes. It's school. But they were talking about seeing if my kiddo could qualify for the Head Start program for the fall. And I don't really have a lot of information on that. And I need to figure it out, because one of the issues that I've had as a parent of a preschool aged child is a lot of preschools won't take you if your child's not potty trained. I was told that a lot of schools will accommodate if your kid has an IEP, but those schools that accommodate are faith-based, which is definitely not what I'm looking for. And I know, like, that's going to ruffle some people's feathers, but, like, just like you wouldn't want to send your kid to a school that didn't fit your criteria, that doesn't fit mine. So, 1, 2, 3, oh, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. So, she said, no, we should look into Head Start. And Head Start would be a 5-day-a-week preschool program that's 5 full days. Now, wherever you live, if you have a child that is school age or that has recently been school age, do you guys have full day or half day kindergarten? Because here, in my county, in my school district, they have half day kindergarten. So I just looked at her and I said, isn't that a little backwards? And she said, yep. So you send your kid to full day preschool from 8:30 to 2:30 or something like that. And then when they start kindergarten, they only do a half day. I've got my own thoughts on that. I don't understand why we don't do full day kindergarten. 1, 2, 3, 4. She thinks that it's probably too expensive to pay the teachers for a full day. And I'm like, because you can't have that many kids in a classroom at once. And look, I'm not part of the school board. I'm not here to make any sort of decisions or anything at all. What I do know is that my child, I feel like, deserves a full day of kindergarten. I had a full day of kindergarten. And also, like, I know you don't get to pick. You can tell them your preference, but you don't get to pick. So what happens if you have a kid who still takes a nap? Well, if they take a nap, then you can only send them for a morning session, because if they take a nap, then when are they supposed to start school? Or like a lunch schedule, or juggling it with other kids. So like, I'm always impressed when people have multiple kids and they can juggle all of that. I've got one kid and I can barely juggle her. For real. Faux real. Anyway, so I'm going to look into that. I'm excited by the idea of my child getting some education that's not through a tablet. Let me tell you, if you guys have never had the experience of virtual learning with a 3-year-old, it is not fun. You know, she wants to constantly, like, look at everything and touch everything and bang on the screen, and she doesn't understand if the teacher tells you, you have to put your hand this way, or you have to do this, or you have to do that, that, like, this is something you have to actually, like, follow the rules and pay attention. And, I mean, those are all things that we struggle with at home anyway, like the following the rules and paying attention. But that's also because she's 3 and has been trapped in her home since she was 2. So, you know. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, I don't know if I'm ready to send my kid 5 days a week to preschool. But she said that if you can get into that program, it's absolutely amazing. And obviously, every parent wants the best for their child. Every single one of them. And so if that means, you know, doing preschool 5 days a week, then that's what, you know, that's what that means. I don't want to jump the gun here because I don't even know if we will qualify. I know that it's income based, and it's like, well, that means more kids are probably going to qualify because of parents being unemployed during the pandemic. But I don't know if said parents, once they go back to work and they lose their qualification, if they'll pull your kid out of the program. So I really have no idea. But I'm excited to learn more, I'll say that much. I poured all of those drills in, and I just needed like 4 more. So, look at me. Look at me go. So anyway, it's been an eventful 2 days. We have one more therapy service this week. We have her head teacher on Friday. Excuse me, as if it's not confusing enough, every single week we have her, sorry, I'm trying to look for that color. we have speech every week, every single Wednesday. And then 2 weeks, so I don't know if it's the first and the third or the second and the fourth, whatever it is. Every other week we have Monday services with her OT, and then the weeks in between we have special ed with on Friday. So some weeks we are Monday, Wednesday, other weeks we are Wednesday, Friday. So we're going to be missing quite a few sessions over spring break, and you know, I can't complain too much. You know, I'm happy that we even have services in the first place. But let me tell you, the conversation today with her speech therapist, knowing that there's a chance that I might be able to have at least one service in person for my kid, just makes me so happy. And I know, of course, I'm over here crying again. I know that it is one of those things that I'm very scared for my child to be, you know, out and about in the public situation until things have improved further. But I know how desperately my child needs interaction with someone else. And I just can't give that to her. You know, I obviously, we play with our own kid, but she can't play with other kids. And I know some people are going to say, yes, she can. And it's like, well, listen, until things are better and it's definitely safer, then I'm going to just continue on the way I'm continuing. But, you know, it also scares me to think that when my child does finally emerge into the world of Walmarts and Targets and grocery stores and things like that, that this is going to be the mindset of a 2-year-old and not the mindset of a 3-year-old, because she hasn't had to socialize. She hasn't had to behave in public. She hasn't had to deal with the fluorescent lights and the buzzing noises and the shopping carts and the hustle and bustle of people. And the thought of that really scares me as her parent. So, you know, I don't know if I've said it on one of my own videos here or not, but when you see kids who are out in public and your thinking is, oh, they're really misbehaving, you know, keep in mind, most of these kids have not done anything in a year. They haven't had a need to behave, quote unquote, properly in public because they haven't been in public. And I know that's not the case for every family, and I know that's not the case for every child, but just remember, as things start opening up wherever you are, when you're seeing kids misbehaving or behaving in a manner that you don't deem acceptable, which you shouldn't be deeming any kid's behavior acceptable or not, because you never know the shoes that that person has walked in. You never know the situation of the parents. And I've discussed that here before. You know, I used to always think, well, how come, like, I would never let my child act like that in public. And sometimes kids respond to things because they're having, like, sensory overloads, or maybe that mom just had the world's shittiest day, and while you would never think it's okay to yell at your kid or to treat your child the way they did, you don't know the situation. You don't know. You'd never know. So always treat people with kindness. And as restaurants are starting to fill up to further capacity and things are starting to open up, like amusement parks and museums and things that children frequent, you know, just remember that a lot of those kids have basically been in a bubble, and, you know, cut them some slack. And cut the parents some slack, because I'll tell you, I don't know what it's like to be out in the last year. to a store. And I don't know what it's like to be a parent to a child out in public, because neither of us have done that. My husband has been the only one to go into any facility of any sorts. So he's the one who goes to the post office. He's the one who goes to the grocery store, to the pharmacy, to do all that stuff. Have I been in the car for some of these things? Sure, but that's not the same as, hey, look at me, I'm going into the X, Y, and Z store here. So, we are at that hour mark here, which, no surprise. If you have made it this far, please let me know. What are you guys looking forward to most this summer? I know, for one, I'm excited. We're going to get a new grill, and I'm super excited that my kiddo is going to get to soak in the sun a little bit more. Outdoor air always does her good. So I'm going to hop off here. Thank you guys so much for being here. As always, if you liked this video, please make sure to give it 2 thumbs up. 1 real life, 1 virtual. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. Come, join the Sparkle Squad. While you're there, hit that notification bell. I do not operate on any sort of schedule. I operate on toddler standard time, so I record while she is sleeping or sleeping. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys!